Hey guys, it's Drake with the RPG Construct. I am going to be doing kind of a set of how-to videos for the 7th edition of Call of Cthulhu. I was in Tacoma, Washington at Con last weekend, and I've been actually trying to find the books for a while, but everything was sold out, especially here in the local store, and I don't really want to go to Amazon and, you know, do all that. I want to support the local gaming community. But the Tacoma Games had them, so I picked them up. They do have a free PDF on the Chaosium website. That's chaosium.com. And they will actually, you can download the free kind of quick start. It has some scenarios and kind of a quick overall view of everything. You can definitely go with that just to kind of get the basics. But the Keeper's Rulebook, as it's called, is about 440 pages. So there's a lot more to it than what you can get in that PDF. But just to kind of pick it up and see if you like it, you can download that PDF for free. I think if you buy the book, it's like $9 for the quick start. But this, Call of Cthulhu genre, this kind of dark, supernatural setting, is not something that I've run into before. It's not something that I'm really that familiar with at all. But if you ever watch any of my games, they tend to be dark and filled with horror and stuff like that. So I figured it wasn't that big of a jump to try to be the keeper for this one. In this particular game, the DM or the GM is called the keeper. The players are called investigators. Now, this is set in a kind of a setting that was created by an author named H.P. Lovecraft. Very well-known author. Most of his stuff is set in the 20s and 30s. And the biggest thing that he believed was that, at least in his writings, was that there's so much more than we really perceive. That there's main gods, and there's outer gods, and there's sleeping gods, and there's their minions and stuff like that. Most of them don't really care about us. Most of them can't really do much to us. They can affect us in different ways, but depending on who it is and what it is, we don't, as humans, don't have the mental capacity to understand what's going on, in the cosmos per se, in the universe, in the galaxy, all that stuff. And some of these, it says in his books, you might run into one of these guys if you get to the end of the universe. Well, that kind of takes forever, right? So the one, I think, bit that I really think kind of speaks volumes for this particular game is, H.P. Lovecraft said that you can be comfortable or you can know truth. And you can't have both of those. You can be really comfortable or you can know everything. So, because the more you know, the more you understand what's going on, and the more crazy the world gets. The universe gets. The more you learn about what is outside of your little bubble, the more uncomfortable you get. So I think that's a really interesting aspect, and something that in a game, as a keeper, you have to kind of keep that going, to the point where in this game you have your typical strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, stuff like that. That's pretty standard stuff. But you have things like sanity points. And if you interact or see one of these creatures, or even see somewhere that they've been, you have to make a sanity roll. Like, just seeing some of these creatures, or actually most of these creatures, with your naked eye, actually can make you go mad on a bad roll. And there's a whole bunch of tables and stuff that we'll get into. But think about that. It's like you see a creature and you can lose your mind and just start doing crazy stuff. And as I said, the game master is called the keeper in this particular game. The players are called investigators. And the stories, or whatever you want to call it, are actually called scenarios for the purposes of this game. So it's all about investigating, trying to figure things out, getting information. But remember, the more information you get, the more uncomfortable everything gets, or the player should be, or the game should be. So I think that was interesting. Like, the closer they get to the solution, the more uncomfortable the scenario gets. Now, like I said, I'll do a video about what exactly you're rolling for and stuff like that. You aren't really using a d20 for this system. You're using just the d10 and the percentile dice, because every roll, as far as a skill check or something like that, is going to be a d100 roll. Again, we'll get into that stuff. Pretty simple, but things like combat and setup and stuff like that with your characters, you do your rolls first. Okay, everybody's human as far as this goes. Setting, like I said, it could be where I'm probably going to do it is like the 20s and the 30s, but you can do it all the way up to modern times or even ancient times. It's the same stuff. What basically you're doing here, you're rolling your stats, then you are picking an occupation, and each occupation has certain skills, and there's a whole long list of skills, and we'll get into this, and you put those skills where you want. But when you pick an occupation, you have to put it into these particular ones. The numbers are a lot bigger. Then you're talking about 200 or 300 points instead of just 18 or something like that. Whether something is difficult or not difficult, it's still kind of like a DC check, except it's with a 100. And again, I will get into all the skill checks and everything. I'm just kind of giving you a brief overview. But it's a really different way of looking at stuff. A role-playing game is a role-playing game. It's a bunch of people sitting around a table or sitting around a computer playing out the roles of the characters that they create. Because these are human and it's a more modern setting, some people that maybe feel a little bit challenged when it comes to playing a dwarf or an orc or an elf like you would typically do, may have a little bit more understanding or a little bit more confidence with regards to playing a human being. You have your gender, you have your size and stuff like that. There is your typical melee combat. There are your typical, firearms and stuff like that. So a lot of it isn't different. It's just how you go about doing those roles and what those roles mean. That is just takes a little bit of tweaking to understand. So I'm going to jump into this Call of Cthulhu stuff, guys. And if there's anything, if you're familiar with it or you're not familiar with it and you have a question, any of these videos, go ahead and either like it, post a question underneath, find me on Facebook, the Absolute Tabletop group, whatever you want to do. The Something RPG-ish podcast, you can post the question there, whatever you need to do. But I think together we're going to learn a pretty interesting game that is very popular and something that I've never delved into. So I'm really looking forward to having other options for myself than like a typical, like Numenera or Cypher System or 5th edition. This is not really like any of them, and I'm really looking forward to learning something else. So I just want to say, welcome to Call of Cthulhu, guys, and we're going to figure this out together. So good luck and come on down.